Aloha everyone, it's Christina Martini here at my home studio and my home practice space. Okay, the question for today is our beautiful Bhujapidasana. So yes, there are two ways Bhujapidasana is being taught. I learned from Manju and Nancy Gilgoff different ways that they learned from their lineage teachers, and one of those is the head is down in Bhujapidasana, and I also learned a long time ago where I have my nose and my chin that can land in Bhujapidasana. So depending on who you're studying with and what lead you're taking in primary, whoever is guiding that lead class, whatever their instructions are is what you do. Unless you have an injury to your neck, you can communicate that with the teachers that you're studying with. So anyways, I'll go ahead and talk about the workshop part of first the head down on the floor and how to build the jump around it and maintain some stability and balance so that you don't crash over. And you can also lift up your feet underneath that cheeks of yours and your stomach. So Bhujapidasana is called the shoulder pressing pose in the primary series Yoga Chikitsa of the lineage and system of Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga. And so it's a very difficult pose that comes in the middle of the practice after Navasana, the boat pose. And so it does require a lot of focus, dharana dhyana, pratyahara, the 8 limbs of yoga, not to get so urged and eager and rough and tense so that, you don't hurt yourself, because it is a shoulder pressing pose where your nose and your face can face plank down on the ground if you're busy trying to obtain the pose rather than focus on the relaxation of the body and the strength of the breath, ujjayi, to guide the asana. We never push our body to enter the asana, but we allow the breath to allow us to enjoy being with the asana and the body, if that makes sense. That's how I see it. All right, without any delay. So sometimes you have to really prepare your back and your hips and your legs. It's hard to float over without scuffing the floor if you're not yet understanding bandhas and lightness and effortless practice, and that's what we were just talking about. You have to feel at ease and at lightness and not so much going and really pushing yourself. So step 1 is really making it around your arms to jump. It's just like Bakasana when you're jumping behind your arms. You already know that your drishti is the third eye in the center of the mat. The trajectory of where you're headed is wrapping around both arms. So if you're here, you want to mobilize your hip flexors. I open my feet apart and my hands are also wide apart. So when I'm coming in here, I'm at the ball of my toes. Sometimes maybe people don't understand that. I'm at the ball of my toes, and when I wrap around, I have this space that's a clearing from the floor to come to wrap the bhuja here. Then as I come down, I lift that feet from touching the floor, and I'm using my trunk, my torso, to bring it forward towards my head. Coming back, I'm using, again, without touching the floor, and moving this back to shoot back to that Bakasana. It's really challenging, yes, hard. Of course, it's yoga. Yoga is not made to be easy, but yoga is made to be practiced daily and studied properly, accurately, to your needs, your body, your condition, your abilities, potential, right? So that's an important element of the practice to understand. You notice I'm not winded because I focused on the breathing, coming in and entering in and entering out of the pose. So that just takes practice. So again, without me interrupting, so I can go ahead and show you the entire thing. Sometimes it's not perfect, so release your expectations and don't get frustrated when you don't, get it right when you're in lead class. It's hard. So again, don't meet your feet flat. Go in the ball of your toes. Move your knees to relax. Prepare to open that feet around so you can come through. Okay, so here we go. Ideally, you'll have to do it, of course, according to the breath of lead. We usually stay down for 5 to 8 counts, depending on the teacher. If everyone's kind of rushing and slipping by that moment, we need to make sure that we're safe and we don't hurt our wrist and we don't hurt ourselves, right? Especially at the exit. You're so close to each other, so you got to make room wisely. You're like paying attention to all angles of your body. All angle of the room that's next to you, somebody beside you, here, in front of you, or behind you. You're not looking directly at them, but your peripheral vision and understanding where you really are doesn't come after the pose enters. It comes way before that. The moment you start on the mat, you know where your house is. This is the distance of what you have. And if somebody is right here, you've got this much space to clear your leg to come back to Bhujapidasana, which means you're not going to stretch your leg when you know that both sides of you is with someone. So kind of think about that, All right, so I hope that helps. Do we need to demonstrate that again? I think you've got it, right? So if you want me to break it down on the jumps first, I'm just going to do the wraparound. That way, at least some workshop here. I move at the ball of my toe, and my knee is splayed not super out, just like I'm crunching like this, like I'm doing goddess malasana, okay? So coming into here, you notice I'm not like this with my neck. I'm already at the drishti. I already know the direction that I'm headed. I got in my car. I don't have a GPS. I'm not dependent on that technology. I know where I'm headed. So when I'm here, I can interlace the feet. And then now I know where my trunk is headed and my feet is headed. So I descend down with grace. I know that I'm going to come up and I'm going to need to hold that feet off the floor. I need to make my way back to here to shoot back to that chaturanga, upward dog, downward dog. And then, of course, on to the next hard one, Kurmasana. Yeah. Anyways, so that was the one with the head down. Whenever I practice with my teachers, the old school, I call it the original, I guess. We were always told to keep our head down. I did notice when I went to Southern California and I went to some of the shalas there, they had us with our chin out, and a couple of times in Stanford and San Francisco and stuff like that. And again, like I mentioned earlier, whoever's leading the class, we're Ashtangi practitioners or we're yoga practitioners. One of the greatest attributes that yoga brings to us is respect and courtesy, right? Appreciation. And if the teacher is guiding the class, and if the teacher says to bring your head down, head down. If your nose is over and your chin is over, then your chin is over and your head is the way it should be, right? So that's just the way we honor the practice. Parampara. All right, so now this next one, I don't suggest you try it at home, unless, like I said, depending on what shala you study with or teacher you study with, and you gotta have a purpose for wanting to do it. many different ways. I really do just practice now, the last 10 years since I moved to Hawaii and Maui, and just, getting older in my 50s, I just put my head down and I'm fine with it. I'm happy with it. I'm getting the same benefit as if the way I was practicing when I was in my 20s and 30s and 40s and whatever, a little bit out with my chin, all right? So what does that look like? Here we go. The entry is the same. The only difference is you really need to have your torso and your chest, just like you're gonna do chaturanga. Think about it, your chin is like that. So if you picture that, then that will make you enter Bhujapidasana a little bit more calmly and less injury waiting to happen, okay? So here we go. Again, try not to try a lot of the things at home unless you are in the presence of your teacher. Again, you're gonna bring your knees to bend and we're gonna wrap around. And here it is. I'm gonna think of that chaturanga like we just talked about. And we're gonna come back up without touching the floor. We're gonna make our way to Bakasana and then shoot back to chaturanga. And again, up dog and down dog. So you can bring out some more jaw if you like. Again, if you're practicing some advanced series, kind of a great complement to Viparita Shalabhasana, where we have our jaw and our jala a little bit, open for that practice. So yeah, I could see the benefit from here. But again, the practice is your personal practice. So if that is not comfortable with you, don't do it. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. If it feels right, it's comfortable with you, enjoy it, but understand it. And if the other one feels better for you for the rest of your life, be happy with it, because it's important, all right? So one more time on the chin out, and then we'll call it a wrap. And that's your request for Bhujapidasana. Both teachings is correct. Both approach is correct. It's just really if the teacher is looking at your neck bone and your vertebrae, your musculoskeletal, if it's a yoga therapy kind of thing, then I would probably listen to what the recommendations are for you instead of you making your own decision sometimes, because a second eye or another person is helpful, okay? Especially someone who's experienced in teaching. So anyhow, here we go. Again, just mobilizing the knees slowly. You're not gonna do this every time. I'm just doing this right now as a technique if you're practicing with me right now in this workshop, kind of clinic time. Jump around. You're gonna work your shoulder blades and your chin. And you're gonna lift up. You're gonna work your way around to Bakasana, then Chaturanga. Slips over your pants. And off we go here. All right. That's your request. Peace. Aloha.